All right, welcome. So, for my presentation today, I chose to look at Google Education, specifically one of the courses in order to get um, Google Educator certified. There's different levels, but this basic course looks at just level one certification. So, what is Google Education? So it is a blanket of tools and services that are designed in order to enhance the teaching experience, the learning experience through technology. The goal is to provide educators, students, and institutions with resources they need to succeed in the digital learning environment. So there are a ton of features, and they're each categorized in a different realm, either collaboration, they focus on communication, management, organization, and administration. So, the Google education programs are designed to facilitate all these things in educational settings. So, the course that I'm going to be looking at is called Basic Use of Google Workspace for Education Fundamentals. So, this is a great course for educators to take if they are not familiar with Google Suite at all and they want to be able to effectively integrate the Google Workspace into their teaching practices. So, in the first course, it goes through an overview of the available tools, um, and the video portion that I selected here kind of just goes through a little bit of what I talked a little while ago, that each of the groupings are kind of categorized into different areas, and the first part of the program kind of just solidifies and goes through all of that. So, in the next part of the course, you look at organizing your classroom and you look at how you can consolidate your files in Google Drive, meaning through folders and labels and colors, where you can star them, where you can create a workspace in order to effectively organize yourself digitally throughout the year. um, Also how to collaborate and share your files with Google Docs and managing all that within. So, what I really liked about this course is the communication portion with students and parents. It went through how you can organize and manage your emails with labels and filters. I have a way to organize my emails right now, but I'm really looking forward to inputting filters so that certain emails go to the top, even if they've been sent earlier or later than other emails. They're automatically filtered to go to the top. um, Something that I wasn't terribly familiar with before was Google Chat, um, but you can use it in order to message people more immediately. um, So it's easy enough, and we have a small enough school where texting does the job just as fast. Um, Sharing student work with Google Sites. Um, I feel that that could be beneficial, but I think there could be some issues with privacy. So having a cautionary look at that, and holding meetings. Typically, we use Google Meets because those conversations are directly linked to Google Calendar. And so all you have to do is click the link through it with the meeting. But depending on preference, some parents, if they don't have a Google account, they prefer just to use Zoom. When learning how to manage time effectively, I gained a better understanding of how to manage events, to set reminders, and use color coding for different activities. For example, if it is a staff meeting or if it's a parent meeting, I can color code it so that appears differently in my calendar. And also, as I mentioned earlier, that any meeting automatically generates a Google Meet also. Something else I wasn't familiar with prior to was Google Tasks. So basically, kind of like a notes page on your iPhone, or excuse me, the reminder app. You can create, edit, and organize tasks and also set due dates. So I could potentially use this in my classroom instead of having a million sticky notes covering my desk. Um, Speaking of which, Google Keep, to take notes, create checklists, organize thoughts. And then that can be shared with the other people on my team because I have two teachers that teach the same grade level. So if we can all collaboratively agree to communicate with that instead of creating a Google Doc to share that, because sometimes what I find is my one of my colleagues created a anything that doesn't need to be said in a meeting doc. So instead of having a meeting for something, we just type it in the doc. But I feel like using Google Keep would better manage our time more effectively for not having to find that document. This section of the course focuses on teaching educators how to effectively create rosters, assign work, collect assignments, and give and receive feedback. So, some of the takeaways from my experience were that you can give students a code to add the classroom instead of having to populate them yourself, which I find is going to be 10 times easier when setting up my Google Classroom come the fall. Something I haven't used as often is that a folder is created for your Google Classroom in Google Drive, and that could be an easier way to retrieve papers. For example, I use it for writing assignments, so be able to print the papers. I can simply share that with my para, and she can populate it a lot easier. Something, a feature that I'm still working on with my students is the turn in or mark as done feature to track completed work. I want them to be responsible and show more autonomy in their classwork. So, teaching that skill. Also, the commenting portion of giving feedback. I can give students feedback right on the assignment since I'm automatically given editor permissions on all assignments that are done through Google Classroom. I like being able to streamline everything to one place and that my students can all engage, though I do not give them permissions to write on the stream because that's proven to be used inappropriately in the past. But I can populate questions and forms, and they can answer those within the stream as well. So the last portion of the course goes through measuring student progress, and this can be done through assignment tracking, through the grade book, through Google Forms, and analyzing data that way as well. I really liked how you can populate the responses into a Google Sheets. For example, I did something fun at the end of the student school year where students got to vote on superlatives, and I was able to populate the results into Google Sheets and be able to analyze them a lot more efficiently. These tools really taught me how I can monitor student growth more efficiently by maximizing the use of these different programs. So I've kind of framed this as a second part of the presentation, focusing on the framework that I chose to use to evaluate this program. And the program or framework I decided that best fit was the I chose to focus on the community of inquiry model because I think it best fits what the basic fundamentals Google course was intending. So, just to recap, the cognitive presence is when learners can create meaning through reflection and discussion. The social presence is their ability to project into the community and present themselves as real people. And the teaching presence focuses on the design, facilitation, and direction of those processes to achieve whatever educational outcomes are to be met. So, looking at it from an outward perspective of what the basic fundamentals course was teaching, uh, looking at it from the cognitive standpoint, you have tools like Google Docs, Sheets, and Slides. Um, they support critical thinking and creating knowledge. Where looking at the social piece, you have Google Meets, Google Chat, and other collaborative features that help students establish a sense of community and have them interact socially. And then lastly is the teaching presence, where Google Classroom can be used to assess and help instructors and educators design and facilitate the learning experience. So now, having looked at the course itself, the educational framework of the COI, and how it applies to looking at this course, I'm now looking at recommendations that could provide more improvement to the course as it stands today. I think it goes without being said that every program or course can always have room for improvement. Overall, I think this course does a really nice job giving you the basic fundamentals of the Google programs and gives you an introduction to it. But I think there could be more interactive elements to it. I do like that there's feedback at the end of each module that kind of gives you one question to kind of surmise, like if you were paying attention. And then at the end, you have an assessment you can take. Um, I think establishing some way of feedback throughout the course would be beneficial because there's no, troubleshooting, as I mentioned in the next bullet point, or features to kind of help with accessibility. So I think those could be added. There were transcripts available for videos, but that wasn't always the case. And then if there's a way to foster community throughout the program, which I know is a huge part of social presence in the community of inquiry model. Right now, it's a self paced course, so there's really no opportunity for that. Thank you so much for listening, and I really hope that if you know an educator that doesn't understand the basic fundamentals of Google Workspace for Education, that you strongly encourage them to take this course because even as someone myself that I consider myself to be very tech savvy, hence this program, I found it to be very beneficial as well.